You might be seeing people quoting the science fiction novel Dune to condemn present-day AI. But Dune is a complex book, and if you consider the context of these words, their meaning is exactly the opposite. The known universe of Dune is a backwards civilization stuck in a 10,000-year dark ages. False religion is used to control the masses and keep them in ignorance. And the commandments of this religion are not to be trusted. Denis Villeneuve's two-part adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune has brought a massive new audience to this classic. But most mass media sci-fi, take Star Wars as an example, is about entertainment and escapism. But Dune is a real science fiction novel. It's about big ideas and vast concepts that Frank Herbert invites you, the reader, to think deeply about. Nothing in Dune is as it first appears. One of the major inspirations for Dune was the Foundation saga by Isaac Asimov, the book that reinvented space opera, not as pulp entertainment, but as serious science fiction. Foundation proposes the high concept of psychohistory, a science that predicts the future of civilization and charts the growth of the Foundation as a truly scientific society. But Frank Herbert believed that any science of history would lead humanity to a dark future of totalitarianism, as happened under communism in the 20th century. Dune imagines that dark future where humanity has turned away from freedom towards fear, power, and back to the totalitarian rule of priests and aristocrats.
Put your right hand in the books.
In real human history here on Earth, our elites have retarded human progress again and again by demonizing and banning technologies. Ruling classes in medieval China prevented technological progress, including gunpowder and boat building, to isolate and dominate their population. Frank Herbert shows the same process in Dune. The great houses dominate planetary populations, and the Guild and Bene Gesserit maintain galactic control, keeping humanity locked in a dark age. We learn about the Butlerian Jihad from Mother Superior Helen Mohaim, who literally believes that humans should be killed like animals unless they pass her test to join the elite. She's an actual fascist, genetically breeding an actual master race. So unless you really like fascism, ignore everything she says.
Frank Herbert was quietly testing the reader to see if they'd noticed that the Atreides themselves are morally questionable.
We're all descended from the harems of those feudal lords and priests, going back 6,000 years, in pyramid-shaped hierarchical societies. Now, our mythology is supposedly anti-hierarchical, and yet, look at the number of our myths, especially in recent years, that have extolled hierarchy. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and in some cases, George Martin in Game of Thrones, and Frank in Dune. Both of them were very upset when they realized that these mythologies, which they tried to make feudalism as gruesome as possible, wound up getting millions of people saying, "Ooh, how cool."
In the words of David Brin, two-time Hugo Award-winning author, the false religion of the Bene Gesserit has been used to lobotomize humanity for 25,000 years. And essential to keeping us lobotomized is suppressing technologies of computation and AI. The commandment, "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind," is a lie designed to dominate and control. Which is worth remembering the next time you see the mainstream media using it to justify controls on AI.
We get it. The universe is overwhelming. You're expected to govern entire planetary systems. Your spice quotas are higher than ever. And there's always another rebellion to crush. But what if there was a better way? Our integrated solutions empower business, great houses, and the imperial throne itself. From supply chain optimization to secure data transfer, we keep the machinery of civilization grinding. We are the hand that shapes trade, the blood that fuels industry, the power behind every throne. We are shown. Display your loyalty to the mercantile with 15% off at sitebuy.com using code SHOWN.
Okay, I'm recording this whilst editing this video essay because I can see flying towards me the objection that in volume 78 of Hack Writers of June by Kevin J. Anderson and Frank Herbert's son Brian Herbert, there is a full presentation of the evils of the AI uprising that led to the Butlerian Jihad. And this is why the spin-off novels in the June universe aren't taken at all seriously by anyone who respects the work of Frank Herbert. Herbert was trying to talk about the true threat facing the future of humanity, which is not AI, but our own ignorance and fear. And he was so frustrated that even passionate readers of his books didn't understand what he was trying to say, that he made it more and more exaggerated. He made the evils of our elite classes so overblown that he eventually presented a god emperor in the form of a worm.
In this time, the most precious substance in the universe is the spice melange. The spice extends life. The spice expands consciousness.
Frank Herbert was a psychedelic explorer, and Dune was conceived and written under the counterculture of the 1960s, and as psychedelics were being outlawed. The spice melange is a product of the life cycle of Shai-Hulud, the sandworms of Arrakis. The spice can extend life and, crucially, expand consciousness. If the spice was shared across the entire galactic civilization, it could raise the consciousness of all humanity and end the Dark Ages. Instead, the spice is hoarded by the elites. The Navigators Guild take any action needed to keep spice controlled and retain their monopoly on interstellar transport, much like the tight controls over oil and computer chips and other resources that are kept deliberately scarce today.
Now you listen here! He's not the Kwisatz Haderach! He's a very naughty boy!
There are two messianic myths in Dune. The Lisan al-Gaib is a myth seeded on barbarous worlds so the Bene Gesserit can exploit them to control the population. The Kwisatz Haderach is a second myth that the Bene Gesserit order uses to justify its political manipulation of the known universe. The Bene Gesserit are crossbreeding members of the great houses, like prize puppies, but there is no evidence of any superhuman outcome. Frank Herbert doesn't want readers to finish Dune and be infused for messianic leaders. He wants you to question. Messiah myths are never true. They are always invented stories used to control others, as are religions they are part of. But perhaps Frank told Dune's Messiah myth too well, because many people do passionately believe that Paul is a hero.
Frank Herbert was quietly testing the reader to see if they'd noticed that the Atreides themselves are morally questionable.
Paul Atreides and his mother Jessica exploit the Bene Gesserit myths to exact revenge and take power. The Atreides are an aristocratic elite family who use military power, propaganda, and secret police to keep the population of Caladan under their control. Paul Atreides has been raised on myths of his own greatness and destiny. He is a trained killer raised to pursue power at all costs. Paul is only the hero of Dune because we see events through his eyes, and because the other great houses are even worse. Paul unleashes a religious jihad that kills billions of humans, and like all such power-hungry psychopaths, Paul believes this is an inevitable part of his own great destiny. But Paul ain't got nothing on his son. For a taste of what the sons of brutal dictators are actually like, look up the Dome's Palace of Uday Hussein, son of Saddam, but only do it if you want nightmares. Leto II, God Emperor of June, is a second-generation dictator, which puts him in good company with Uday and Kim Jong-il. Look up his mass atrocities for extra spicy night horrors. Like all such figures, Leto II believes his own hype. He really truly believes his atrocities against humankind serve a golden path. Humanity must suffer his sadistic rule if we are to survive. But the golden path is a lie upon a lie upon a lie. The only truly golden future for humanity comes from embracing our own freedom, not enslaving ourselves to a man who has transformed himself to serve his lust for power, literally, into a worm. Imagine if Paul Atreides had made his crusade to truly liberate humanity instead of killing billions. Imagine if the Bene Gesserit, instead of manipulating humanity like animals, had used their powers to educate and enlighten all humankind. Imagine if the Guild of Navigators had shared the spice melange, unlocking higher levels of consciousness for all humankind. And imagine if, instead of demonizing AI, humankind had learned to live in peace with machines made in the image of a human mind. And imagine that the 10,000-year dark age of humankind that Dune charts had instead been a light age.